Okay, Bismillah. So now we're on the last chapter of the book, which is debt. And then there's a subsection, which is reimbursement. Debt can be in the form of a dowry. Debt means you owe someone. That's clear for you. One thing about the approach of this book is that it removes, like, saying sales is defined like this and its conditions are this and its prerequisites are this and its invalidators are like this. It's like giving you the names of things as if you know them already. So it just throws to you sale and rental and marriage. And so debt, you know what debt means. It can be in the form of a dowry. That's clear for you. If you have a question, you can ask. Khula, yani. Even if you remarried the same woman and you didn't pay her dowry, you have to pay her now two dowries because you remarried her. You didn't pay her first dowry. Now you have to give her dowry for her next marriage. And the debt can be in the form of khula. So same thing. It's the same. It's the same rules here, except that that's coming from the woman to the man usually. Or for muta'ah, muta'ah here is the payment that the man gives to the woman that he consummated the marriage with her and then divorced her. You know, there's another usage for the word muta'ah, by the way, which is this invalid contract that the Shiites still deem legal. They call it nikah mut'ah, mut'ah marriage. Same word. That's when a man does a contract with a woman uh, for her to be lawful for him temporarily. When the time expires and she's not lawful for him anymore. This is invalid until resurrection day. Or how else could be a debt? The merchandise of a selam sale or a selef sale. What's the selam sale or the selef sale? Really, you should know that one. And especially that we're at the end of the book now. Selam sale or selef sale is the advanced payment sale for delivery later. That's the meaning of aslaftu ilayka hadha al-mal. It's called self sale because you say aslaftu ilayka hadha al-mal. It means I forward this money to you. I pay upfront this money to you, which means you're going to deliver later. So what's particular about this type of sale? That very limited types of things can apply to this sale. That very limited types of things can apply to this sale. Which now we're not going to go into all of that, but yeah, you need to review. The answer I would have hoped for from one of you is that you would have said it's the sale in which you pay up front, at least. Or you would have said it's the sale in which you get the delivery later. Either one of those would have sufficed me. Okay, so the debt can be in the form of a dowry or khula or muta'ah, or it can be in the form of merchandise for the salam or the salaf sale. The merchandise is what's going to be delivered to you. You're going to pay up front and then you're going to get the delivery later. Or the debt can be labor. That might be what you owe. That means work. It is obligatory to give a grace period to the delinquent if he is unable to pay or deliver. This is both a debt. Yani, someone owes you money. You gave him a loan. Then he's unable to pay you. So you have to give him a grace period. So the same thing when it comes to a delivery. A delivery is basically he owes you. So then if he's not able to deliver, all you can do is give him a grace period, nothing more. So it is forbidden to harass him or imprison him or to fine him, and that would be usury itself. You said, how long should the grace period be? As long as it needs to be. because there's nothing else he can do. Yani, the person himself, he's obligated to pay when it's due if he's able. He's obligated to pay when it's due if he's able. If he doesn't pay when it's due if he's able, then he's sinful. But when he comes to you and tells you, I can't pay it to you, I don't have the money, then there's nothing you can do. All you can do is give him a grace period. So you say to him, you might say, pay me such and such time. Or you might say, all right, pay me as soon as you get it, as soon as you're able to. Yeah, for believers and non-believers, because otherwise it's going to be riba. There's nothing you can do. You can't take, you can't profit from being owed money or owed. You can't profit from the debt. Delaying timely repayment when able is a sin of the tongue. And paying it with an unconditional excess is permitted. An unconditional excess. That means you can pay your debt back with a gift. Because a gift is unconditional. A true gift is unconditional. So what about if we added a third person to buy that debt? So debt transfer has very specific conditions. If the conditions are satisfied, then you could transfer the debt. That's when A owes B and B owes C. Can he just sell him the debt though, so that it would be his? I don't know. Delaying timely repayment when able to pay, is a sin of the tongue. I mean, wafikum. And paying it with an unconditional excess is permitted. One must leave a will stating his debts if nobody knows about them, and what he possesses of others' belongings. If no one knows about them, if he feared that it'd be misappropriated by his death. And I think that's clear. So you owe someone something, or you have something that belongs to someone. Now you're afraid you're going to die, for example. If you're afraid you're going to die, then it's obligatory on you to leave such a will. If you're not afraid you're going to die, then it's recommended for you to leave this will. If someone dies before fulfilling a debt, it is paid from his assets, even if nothing is left for the will or the heirs. I think that's clear for you. His debts have to be paid before the inheritance is distributed or the will is distributed. That includes his debts to Allah and his debts to the people. His debts to Allah is like zakat he didn't pay, and the hajj that he didn't perform after becoming able. So now we want to talk about reimbursement. This is the final heading of the book, because that's how you finish your contract, by giving the person his change back, and then he goes about his way. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever owes his brother for some injustice, or pertaining to dignity, or money, then let him rectify that today, before there shall not be any golden or silver coin. No. Yani, pertaining to his dignity or his money. Reimbursement is by replacement or value, according to the previous clarification. So if you remember, we talked about what money is. Knowing how to reimburse religiously requires knowing what money is. Yes, dignity, like in backbiting. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. So knowing how to reimburse religiously requires knowing what money is and how it's divided. Remember that some money is replaceable and some money is irreplaceable. That's going to be relevant here. In order to know how to reimburse someone religiously, when we talk about religiously here, it means like if that person insists that only you give him what the religion said, or you insist you're only going to give him what the religion said you have to give him. You could make a settlement and do something else, but one of you or both of you only want to do what the religion said. So then you need to know how to reimburse religiously. So is your money replaceable or irreplaceable? Because if it's replaceable, you're going to replace it. If it's irreplaceable, that means you're going to pay the value. So how do you determine if it's replaceable or irreplaceable? So you need to memorize what I'm going to tell you now. If it is made of various components or ingredients, like cheese or a car, and we read this before, or it is transformed by fire, like bread or a brick, or it is an animal, then it is irreplaceable. If it is made of various components, or it is transformed by fire, or it is an animal, then it is irreplaceable. But it has a value. So that means then you're not going to replace someone's block of cheese. You're not going to replace his car. You're not going to replace his platter. You're not going to replace his brick. Yani, if you want to go by the religious standard strictly. And you're not going to replace his animal. Rather, you're going to give him the value. If it is not made of various ingredients, nor is it cooked, nor is it an animal. Rather, it can be precisely measured by weight or volume, and at the same time be subject to a selim sale. Like gold and wheat, then it is replaceable, regardless of its value. So this paragraph, if you want, just memorize it just like it is. If you understand some principles of deals, then really it's easy. If some things about dealings are not really set for you, then this paragraph, you don't have really a grip on it. If it is made of various components, or it's transformed by fire, or it's an animal, it's irreplaceable. So then, if it's replaceable, then that means it's none of those. Rather, how would it be if it's replaceable? If it's replaceable, that means it can be precisely measured by weight or volume, and at the same time be subject to a selim sale. And at the same time be subject to a selim sale, like gold and wheat. Okay, what does that mean? And at the same time can be subject to a selim sale. So you need to know what could be subject to a selim sale or self sale. If you took Abu Shuja, look in there. All of this is really taken from Abu Shuja anyway. Let's take a quick look over there at the Salam sale. What's the Salam sale? The Salam sale is a way to sell uh, kinds of things, not something in particular. That means Salam sale lets you do the contract on a kind of thing, contract itself. Of course, at the end, you're going to wind up delivering something in particular. But the contract itself wasn't on that thing in particular. Rather, the contract was on something that this thing fits its descriptions. Anything that fits these descriptions, then give me one of those. So that's how you do selim sale. And only certain types of things can apply to it. The subject of an advanced payment sale must be an unmixed kind of described thing. Unmixed, like wheat, just wheat, a whole barrel of wheat. Everything in there is the same thing. an unmixed kind of described thing. And you need to be very specific about it. The kind of it, the age of it, the volume, the weight, the count. So you might do this kind of contract for gold, like we said, or wheat, like we said, or maybe spices, for example. Somebody's gonna uh, go get some spices and bring them back. He works in import export, quote unquote. So if something is not made of various ingredients, it's not made of various ingredients. So not cheese, not a car, not a shoe, not a house. It's made of various ingredients. Nor is it cooked. So not a brick, not uh, uh, food, cooked food. Nor is it an animal. But it can be precisely measured by weight or volume. Okay, cheese can be precisely measured by weight or volume. But cheese is not subject to a Salem sale because it's made of ingredients, multiple ingredients. Animal can be subject to a Salem sale, but it cannot be precisely measured by weight or volume. So this paragraph here, if you want, memorize it just like it is, and then let it soak in. Then inshallah, you'll understand something nice about deals. So I'm going to read it one more time. We're talking about how to know if money has value or if it's replaceable, so that you can know how to reimburse someone religiously. If it's made of various components or ingredients, or if it's transformed by fire, or if it's an animal, then it's irreplaceable. So if it's irreplaceable means then you're going to reimburse how? By paying the value. So what if you, for example, wrecked someone's baby crib? Then what are you going to get him, a new baby crib? No, because it's made of components. Then you're going to pay him the value. Or you killed his animal. So you're not going to get him an animal. You're going to pay him the value. If it's not made of various ingredients, so all one type of thing only, and it's not cooked, so it's raw, or whatever it is, nor is it an animal. Rather, it can be precisely measured by weight or volume and at the same time be subject to a Salem sale. That part is what you need to comprehend. Like gold and wheat, then it's replaceable, regardless of its value. Do you have any questions so far? All right. Now, dealing with the value. I do have a question. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yes. If you gave example about a crib, right? Yes. You want to pay that person the value of that crib, but the person say no. Can you just buy me another crib? What should you do? You can if you want to. That'll be a settlement then. Yeah, because the settlement will allow you to, go from one contract to another. But it is can't do that. Switch the contract from that to another contract. You can by settlement. I mean, Wafiq. And remember, settlement requires what? Who can tell us? Settlement requires what? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Confession. Settlement requires confession. So if you said to the person, okay, I owe you, okay, I damaged your baby crib. Sure, I'll get you baby crib instead of giving you the money for it. So that's valid. You're welcome. Or you could say, no, I'm just going to pay you the value for it because that's my religious obligation.
The value of it at the time, it was, for example, damage, or the value of it when it was when that person bought it, like brand new.
Here's the answer to your question, bro. Alhamdulillah. One owes its value the day of its ruin. So value is based on bullion, gold or silver, like when buying out a new partner. Unless the share were the price of a dowry or khula, then he pays the commensurate dowry. Uh, all of that, I'm not going to talk about it unless you want to ask me. But all that's most important in this sentence is that value is based on bullion. Anyway, so before I read on, when you need to replace something, then that means what? Means that you're not going to look at the value. So if you have to replace my barrel of wheat, you don't ask me how much your barrel of wheat costs. Doesn't matter here. Now you got to give me a barrel of wheat. It could matter sometimes when you're running out of options, like it's not available, you can't travel to go get it, like clothes, those types of things. But without looking at those extra details, just understanding the base of the mas'ala, when you need to replace it, then it doesn't matter its value. So gold, for example, itself is replaceable. Since safekeeping is an essential element of renting and of borrowing an item and also taking money or merchandise from a partnership or a profit share, safekeeping is incorporated in all of these dealings. Safekeeping is an essential element of renting. That means when you rent something to someone, you want them to give it back the way you rented it to them. And borrowing an item, you let someone use your item, you want them to give it back the way you gave it to them. And also taking money or merchandise from a partnership or a profit share, this also incorporates safekeeping. Then there's no reimbursement for damages without negligence. There's no reimbursement for damages without negligence. What that means is when you have the element of safekeeping in a deal, then reimbursement becomes obligatory when the person who was safekeeping was negligent. This means if this thing perished while with the one who's supposed to be safekeeping it, but not due to his own negligence, then he doesn't have to reimburse. So, easy example is you let someone use your horse and he didn't do anything to the horse that's not done usually. He kept it properly, he used it properly, etc. Normally, properly here means normally, not in a way that you don't accept, also in the way that you accepted for him to use it, and he did it in the normal way, and he kept it in the normal way, and he was not negligent in any way, but the horse died. Then he doesn't have to pay for this. So then what's negligence? So that you could get an idea about that and then know when someone has to pay you. Negligence is like forgetting that it was another's money and then using it as one's own, or giving it to a third person without permission, or traveling with the item without permission, or not tending to what needs attention. That's open, but yani, it's not hard to understand what that means. If you know how to take care of your own business, then sometimes something needs some attention, needs some regard, needs something, and then you just let it go. And then it got broken after that because you didn't take care of it. Also, improper storage. Storage depends on the type of thing it is. So it could be enough just to park it on the sidewalk, or might need to go behind a gate or in a garage, or might be enough just to put it in your house and lock the door, like your furniture. Or you might need to put it in a safe. So if it got destroyed because of improper storage, then that's negligence. Also, unauthorized usage. Unauthorized usage. And sleeping in clothing that is not usually slept in. MashaAllah. So those religious rules draw your attention to some things. Maybe some people, they have some kind of sense, and then they say you can't sleep in these clothes. Maybe some person doesn't understand though, doesn't see it. Subhanallah. Overworking an animal and also procrastinating and returning it after it was requested. After it was requested without an excuse. Yani, we don't even need without an excuse because it said procrastinating. That means without an excuse. Procrastinating and returning it after requested, period. If he dies and his heir does not return it after being requested, then the heir must pay. One owes its value the day of its ruin. How much it was worth the day of its ruin. The collateral taker reimburses if he destroys it while using it, and the debt remains. Inshallah, that's clear. The collateral taker. So someone owed you some money and he put up a collateral and you took the collateral. You physically took possession of it. And while using it, you destroyed it. This doesn't make the debt go away, but you have to reimburse properly here. How are you going to reimburse it? Depends on what it was. If it's replaceable, you replace it. If it's not replaceable, then you pay the value. If the extortionist destroyed what has no monetary value, an extortionist destroyed, extortionist is strong armor. The bully, he balled up his fists and he grabbed you by the collar and shook you and took your stuff. So this extortionist, if he destroyed what has no monetary value, like 1 or 2 grains of wheat, you know that doesn't have any monetary value. Or a trained dog. Why are we saying trained here? To emphasize that it doesn't have monetary value. Because if a trained dog doesn't have a monetary value, what about a useless dog or an untrained one? He destroyed what doesn't have a monetary value. So it means here, for example, he said, "Oh, this dog you got out here, you keep outside your house. I know the religious judgment. You don't own this dog. I'm taking this dog." And then you'd say, but the religious judgment that you can't take it from me, even though I don't own it, because it's special to me. Or you could say, it's mine, but doesn't mean you own it. I have control over it. You can't take it from me because I have control over it. And then he took it anyway. So that's haram. And then he destroyed it. Then what? He does not have to pay for it because it doesn't have a monetary value. But it was haram for him to take it. Or else he does. Yani, if it does have a monetary value, then he does have to pay for it. So if it's replaceable at market price, Within a shortening distance, it is replaced. If it's replaceable at market price, within a shortening distance, it is replaced. That's beneficial there. Replaceable at market price. Because maybe there's inflation. So it became very expensive. It's out of market price. You could get them the same barrel, but it's out of market price. If it's replaceable at market price, and remember, market price is not one price to the very penny, down to the last pence. Market price is a range. If it's replaceable at market price within a shortening distance, a distance that allows you to shorten your prayer, yani, within that, that means not, yani, it means not so far that you have to shorten your prayer. That's what it means. Then it's replaced. Subhanallah. If its replacement is unavailable, he pays its highest value from the day he took it. This is the extortionist. He pays its highest value from the day he took it to the day the replacement became unavailable. He pays its highest value from the day he took it to the day the replacement became unavailable. If it's irreplaceable, then he has to pay its maximum value since the time and according to the town from which it was taken. Now, what if he didn't destroy it? All of that is if he destroyed it. Because if he didn't destroy it, then he can give it back. If he did not destroy it, then he must return it immediately, number one. Even if the expense of returning it is greater than the value of the article. That's his problem. And he has to pay the difference for any depreciation if he devalued it by taking it or while it was in his uh, while it was under his control. And he has to pay the rent for the time of such an article, whether he used it or not. And if a third person destroys it, then the one who took it has to pay the owner and then go back to the third party for reimbursement. And Allah, the glorified, knows best. That's the end of the booklet there.